Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. Now in today's very special video, we're going to be doing something that we've never ever done before, and we're going to be sharing a recipe, actually 2 recipes for you, because you, our fans, have asked to see our skills in the kitchen. So we figure, with it being the holiday season, let's throw you guys a bone and give you a little holiday gift. So today I'm going to be sharing my recipe for brown butter and toffee chocolate chip cookies, as well as my ultra rich and decadent homemade hot chocolate. Don't go anywhere, guys. We've got so much fun planned for today's episode and a lot of sweet treats to enjoy. Alrighty, everyone. Now, before we begin, I do want to just take a moment and say that if you enjoy this type of video, please consider hitting that like button. And you know what we would love more than anything as a gift for the holidays? Please consider subscribing to the channel. We absolutely would appreciate it. We're trying to get this channel off the ground, hopefully as big as our main channel, James and Paul Try It All. That being said, let's get started. Now, we're going to start off with our chocolate chip cookies. Before we begin, the thing we should always do first would be to gather all ingredients. And thanks to the magic of YouTube, let's do it this way. I wish it worked that easily in real life. Now that we've got our ingredients all laid out, which I will go through each one as we prepare the cookies, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start the recipe by melting some butter, and not just melting it, but we're going to brown it. Let's head over to the stove. Now, before we start browning our butter, we're going to go ahead and preheat our oven to 375 degrees. That way, once we're ready to put our cookies in the oven, this should be nice and toasty and ready to go. We're gonna take a large pan, preferably, I like to use one that has a bit of a wider lip here, or a taller lip, so that way it doesn't splatter as much. So I'm using a saute pan. We're gonna go ahead and put this on a medium-high heat. Now we're gonna take 20 tablespoons, or 280 grams of good quality butter. For this portion, I tend to use Kerrygold because it's a higher fat content than standard American butter, which has more water content. So do that as you will. You don't necessarily have to use Kerrygold, but I do recommend it. However, regular butter is fine. We're gonna take 20 tablespoons here, plop that right into the pan. We're gonna let that melt. Now, during this process, we're gonna swirl and stir occasionally until we have a delicious brown butter that's nutty in aroma and caramel in color. Now, as you can see, I broke my butter up into smaller pieces. That way it melts a little bit more evenly. Now, once this starts to melt completely, we're gonna start reaching the clarifying process before hitting the brown butter stage. Once it starts to brown, take it off the heat fairly quickly before it turns into black butter. Now, as you can see, as we're browning the butter, it's starting to foam up a bit, but you can also see all the beautiful bits of fat, the butter fat in there. That's really why I choose Kerrygold for this recipe, because that is all the deliciousness that makes brown butter wonderful. Now, once you start noticing the butter foaming like it is, keep an eye on it, because it will quickly brown before your eyes. As you can see, as I'm stirring, I'm already seeing some brown bits coming up. Now that we've got a good looking brown butter, we're going to remove that off the heat and turn off the burner. Now we're going to take our brown butter and we're going to add it to a large bowl. I personally recommend using the largest bowl you have. A wider bowl is going to be better. You want to make sure that you scrape that pan and get all those delicious little brown bits, because that's where the flavor's at. Now that we've transferred our brown butter to a large bowl, we're going to add 6 tablespoons or 84 grams of unsalted butter. You can use regular American butter for this. You can use something with a higher fat, like a European butter if you want to. I'm using a regular American butter. We're going to add this to the brown butter. Also going to use 2 tablespoons or 24 grams of butter flavored shortening. Now, you may be wondering why it's not just all butter. I have been perfecting this chocolate chip cookie recipe for many, many years. And over the time, I have found that if I just use straight butter, a lot of times my cookies come out flatter than I want them to. I want them to be a little bit puffy, and shortening really does that. So this kind of helps cut that out. We're going to let all this melt together until it becomes homogeneous. Give it a little stir with a whisk until everything is incorporated together. As I'm mixing, you can see all the toasty brown butter bits in the bottom. That looks so good. Now that our butters and shortening are melted together, we're going to add 1.5 cups or 298 grams of dark brown sugar, 1 cup or 199 grams of granulated sugar, 2 teaspoons or 11 grams of salt, and 2 tablespoons or 32 grams of vanilla paste or vanilla extract. If you don't have paste, vanilla extract is perfectly fine. Make sure you get everything out of your receptacle here. because A, vanilla extract / paste is expensive. I like to make sure that this has a nice, good, strong vanilla flavor to it. Vanilla is one of those things, much like garlic, that I feel that you just have to follow your soul and decide how much you really want to add. Now that we've got those ingredients together, we're going to go ahead and mix this all together until homogeneous. Be careful, because you can easily splatter out the bowl. All right, now that our butters, sugars, vanilla, and salt are mostly mixed together, we're gonna go ahead and throw in 2 eggs plus 2 egg yolks. Now, we use egg yolks instead of just all eggs because honestly, it gives it a little bit of a chewier texture rather than a cakier texture, which is something that I really like in a chocolate chip cookie. All right, now what we're gonna do, now that our eggs are added, we're gonna mix this for 30 seconds. Those are large eggs, by the way. I felt like I forgot to mention that. So we're gonna whisk this for 30 seconds. And then what we're gonna do is once the timer goes off, we're gonna set a timer for 3 minutes and let that rest. Followed by another 30-second whisking and followed by another 3-minute rest. We're then gonna repeat that process 2 more times until we have a rich, thick, velvety batter. Now, none of you wanna see me do this process over and over, so we'll be back once it's all done.
A few moments later.
I will definitely say that I love this process. I'm just a huge fan of stirring. It kind of just gets some of that aggression out. Stop the timer.
5 minutes later.
Now, once you've completed the 4 30-second mixing periods, you should have a mixture that looks something similar in color to like peanut butter. Now, what we're gonna do in a separate bowl is get our flour and baking soda mixed together. In a separate bowl, measure 3½ cups or 542 grams of all-purpose flour. Now, I recommend using King Arthur flour. That's my personal favorite brand. It's a good, high-quality flour. However, generic is fine, but that's just my personal preference. Now, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda to this, or 6 grams of baking soda. Mix together. Don't have to do too much mixing. Just make sure it's all distributed as evenly as possible. And there we go. Now that we've got our flour baking soda mixture, we're gonna go ahead and add this to our butter, egg, sugar mixture. Remove the whisk, because now we're gonna fold in with a spatula. And now it's time to fold in your flour baking soda mixture. I like to do this a little bit at a time just to make folding in a little bit easier. Now you're going to fold this all in until no flour streaks remain. All right, that's gonna be good. Now we're gonna go ahead and add in 1 1/3 cup or 226 grams of semi-sweet or bittersweet chocolate chips. Your choice, I'm using semi-sweet. Now, also we're gonna add in 8 ounces or 1½ cups or 226 grams of coarsely chopped Heath bars. Now, I personally use the 4-ounce extra large Heath bars that are often found in the candy section of a grocery store, not necessarily at the checkout, but where like the big bags of candy are. If you can't find the 4-ounce bars, you can buy smaller bars. Just make sure that you have at least 226 grams or 1½ cups of Heath bars. Now we're just going to gently fold these in until mixed thoroughly. Now that our chocolate and toffee bits are incorporated nicely, we're going to go ahead and prepare our sheet pans. Now, this particular recipe makes approximately 24 cookies, give or take a cookie usually. So I'm gonna use a half sheet pan here and I've got a silpat on it. If you don't have a silpat, you can use parchment paper. That's perfectly fine. I recommend if you're using half sheets, you're gonna need about 3 trays. If you don't have regular half sheets, you may have to use that sheet more than once if you don't have 3 or 4 of them. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take our cookie batter. I like to use a good old-fashioned ice cream scoop to measure out a cookie dough here. Now what we're gonna first do, cookie scoop, we're just going to lay that right there on that for now, because we're not done with it. We're going to come back to it. If you don't have a cookie scoop, you can use a 1/3 cup. I would do a little bit under the lip there. It's not quite a full 1/3 cup. But we're just going to take that bad boy out. Cookie scoop is honestly easier, though. Not cookie scoop. Ice cream scoop is honestly easier. We're going to roll that into a ball. And we're going to repeat this process until we have 8 cookies. We're going to space these out a few inches apart because they will spread. These are going to be big cookies. However, I love a big cookie. It'll be quite a showstopper at any holiday parties and events that you might bring them to. You really want to make sure that you level out that scoop, though, to really make things consistent. Now that we have 8 dough balls here, what we're going to do before we get them into the oven is we're going to actually roll them in some additional chocolate chips to really make that presentation over the top. What I've got here is a big bowl of semi-sweet chocolate chips. You'll notice kind of a mixture of chips. I was kind of going through stock that we have here in the pantry. We're going to take one of these bad boys. We're just going to take that rounded top and plug that right in there. Plop that down, roll it around until you have a nice assortment of chips right there on top. We're going to return that to the pan, and we're going to squash it down just slightly so it's no longer rounded, but more of kind of like a hockey puck. Should be roughly about an inch thick. And then we're going to repeat the process until all the cookies have been chipped. Now that we have 8 completed dough pucks in this case, we're going to go ahead and get these into the oven. We're going to bake them for 10 to 12 minutes, churning halfway through. For me personally, I do it 5 and 5 minutes. Found that works best for the soft, doughy, chewy cookie that I tend to prefer. Let's get these in the oven. Now while those are baking, we're going to go ahead and start our next tray here. Continue the process until you're out of dough and the cookies have been baked. Now, we'll come back to that in just a moment once the cookies are out of the oven because they're not done yet.
5 minutes later.
Our timer just went off, so it's time to turn those cookies. All right, friends, so I got my other 2 trays of cookies all ready to go in the oven. The first tray is only moments away from going off, and when we take that out, we'll be back in just a moment.
1 minute later.
Now, as you can see, our first tray of cookies has just come out of the oven. Now, before they cool, as soon as they come out, we're going to garnish them with some smoked sea salt. Now, if you can't find smoked sea salt, regular sea salt is fine, but smoked really does make a difference. I'm not gonna kid you here. Just a good, generous sprinkle of smoked sea salt on each one as soon as they come out of the oven. All right, now that we've salted our cookies here, they are pretty much good to go. We're gonna repeat the process 2 more times with the other 2 trays, but you can go ahead and leave these on the tray to cool, or you can transfer them into a wire rack. In this case, I'm gonna leave them on the tray to cool, but I would say if you transfer them into a wire rack, let them cool on the tray. Now don't go anywhere, guys. Once we're done making the second 2 trays, we're gonna show you my ultra rich and decadent homemade hot chocolate. Hi there everyone, I really hope you're enjoying today's video. Now if you are, please consider hitting that like button as well as subscribing to the channel. If you're on mobile, why not hit that hype button and help us out even more? Now that being said, this is not our normal type of video. A lot of times what we originally planned for this channel was product reviews, restaurant reviews, but if you like seeing cooking videos too, let us know in the comments and we'll make more. Because ultimately, you guys are the star of the show and the reason that this channel exists. Now, if you also like travel content, specifically focusing around Las Vegas, theme parks, cruises, make sure to check out our primary channel, James and Paul Try It All. We'll put a link to that in the description of this episode. Thank you guys so very much for watching and making it this far in the video. We absolutely appreciate and love you. And just like that, we've got our finished batch of brown butter and toffee chocolate chip cookies. Again, a recipe I have been perfecting for years and I absolutely love them. I share them all the time at parties and get-togethers with friends and they're always a hit. So I do hope that you might consider this recipe for yourself. They're not hard to make and boy is it worth the little bit of effort. Now, what's better to pair with chocolate chip cookies than a good old-fashioned piping hot mug of hot chocolate? And when I say hot chocolate, I don't mean hot cocoa. I mean hot chocolate. Now, before we start our hot chocolate though, we're gonna make the topping, which is gonna be a stabilized whipped cream. This part is gonna be entirely optional. You can absolutely use store-bought whipped cream from the can if you really want to, but let me tell you, doing this will make a much better, richer, sweeter, more enjoyable whipped cream, and it will hold up better on once it hits that hot chocolate. It won't melt immediately. Now you might be wondering, what's a stabilized whipped cream? Simple. A stabilized whipped cream is going to be made with a little bit of gelatin to help it keep its shape, form, and help it last for days instead of just becoming not whipped anymore. So what I've got here is a 1/4 cup of, in this case, room temperature water and 3 teaspoons of unflavored gelatin. Now we're going to go ahead and just add the unflavored gelatin to the cold water and let that bloom. We'll let that sit until it's fully gelatinized, and then we'll come back to this, heat that up in the microwave until it melts. All right, guys, we're gonna let this bloom for a little bit. It should be firm and soft to the touch, springy. Once it reaches that point, we're gonna heat this up until it becomes a liquid again. Roughly about 10 to 15 seconds in the microwave, nothing crazy. Now, to make our whipped cream, we're gonna need a large mixing bowl. You can do this in a stand mixer or with a hand mixer, or if you're really feeling energetic, you can do it by hand and whisk it the old-fashioned way. But frankly, ain't nobody got time for that. We're gonna start with 1 cup or 120 grams of powdered sugar, 1 tablespoon of vanilla paste or extract. Again, I'm using vanilla paste in this scenario. And then 3 cups or 720 milliliters of heavy whipping cream. We got our ingredients together in the bowl. We're gonna attach this to our stand mixer. And we're gonna throw on the whisk attachment. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crank this bad boy up to high, and we are gonna beat until we get to soft peaks. Once we get to soft peaks, we're gonna then add our melted gelatin goo. As you can see, we're getting to soft peaks now. So we're gonna add the hot gelatin while still mixing into the mixture. And continue beating until you reach stiff peaks. That looks like stiff peaks to me. So good. I could eat it with a spoon. So, we've got our whipped cream. Now, you don't have to put it in a piping bag. You can absolutely just spoon it on top, but I'm a bougie bitch, so I like to make it look a little pretty. So we got a nice little tip here. Slide that guy down there. And what I like to do is I use this old utensil container to position my bag here. Slide that down the side, open up the bag, like so. And then spatula. And we're just gonna spoon that into there. Now this is why I use vanilla paste, because you can see the little specks of vanilla bean in there. It's quite beautiful, actually. And I just love the way the vanilla paste tastes in baked goods and confections. I think it works so much better than vanilla extract. We're just gonna scoot all that stuff down. This will honestly be more whipped cream than you need. Can't even lie. Now, I made a mess. It is messy, I can't lie. We're gonna stick this in the fridge for now until we're ready for it when our hot chocolate's ready. All right, guys, now it's time to make the hot chocolate. Now we're gonna start with a medium to large size pot, and we're gonna combine the following: 3/4 cup or 150 grams of sugar, 1/3 cup or 42 grams of unsweetened cocoa, 8 ounces or 227 grams of chocolate, chopped as fine as possible, with the equivalent of basically 2 chocolate baking bars. We're using Ghirardelli in this case. You can use bittersweet, semi-sweet, whichever you prefer. In this case, we're using a little bit of both, half and half, as well as a pinch of salt, followed by a 1/2 cup or 120 milliliters of hot water. Now, when I say hot water, what I mean is water hot enough to steep a tea bag. It doesn't need to be boiling, but it should be hot because you're going to want to melt the chocolate. We're going to now turn the stovetop here to about medium high. And then from there, we're just going to stir constantly until everything is melted. And then we're going to continue stirring constantly until it begins to boil. Once it starts boiling, we're going to let it boil for about 2 minutes while still stirring before we add in our chocolate milk. Yes, and you heard me right. I said chocolate milk. This is one of my tricks to making an incredibly rich and decadent hot chocolate. I will say this is not everyday hot chocolate. This is like Christmas time, at least in the US, because I mean, I know some people watch us from parts of the world where it is summertime in Christmas, but this is wintertime hot chocolate. As you can see, it's getting nice and smooth here. Now this recipe has been something that I've been, working on for many years now, and really kind of came from the fact that I really always enjoyed stovetop hot cocoa, but I also always thought to myself, hot cocoa in its purest form doesn't really have as much chocolate flavor as I want. So when I really kind of learned the difference between hot chocolate and hot cocoa and realized that hot chocolate actually had chocolate in it, it was much richer and deeper and creamier. We're gonna now add 6 cups or 1,500 milliliters of chocolate milk. You definitely want to use a high quality chocolate milk. I'm using chocolate milk from Trader Joe's. It's one of my favorites. We're gonna slowly incorporate that chocolate milk, stirring all the while. Now, once we've added our chocolate milk to the cocoa chocolate sugar mixture, we're gonna add a pinch of salt. Just a pinch. As we can see, we've got a very rich, dark brown chocolatey color here. We do not want to let this boil. So what we're going to instead do is we're going to bring it to a simmer. So once you start seeing a few little bubbles pop up, we're going to immediately kick the heat down to low. And we can let that simmer for a second, take a break. My hand's starting to hurt. So again, don't let it boil. Keep an eye on it, stirring frequently, and make sure that once it starts getting nice and steamy, that you turn it down to low.
5 minutes later.
Alrighty guys, now that we have been stirring this and letting this start to simmer for a little bit, we got a good amount of steam coming off the top. It's time to go ahead and kick this down to low temperature to keep it warm. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Mix that in, and that hot chocolate is good to go. Let's go prepare our mugs. Now, this next part is going to be optional. Not everyone likes boozy hot chocolate, but if you're like me, you like boozy hot chocolate. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw in my 2 personal favorites, a little bit of chocolate liqueur and some Rumple Minze. Now you can use whatever you want. You wanna use some Kahlua, some Irish cream, any other type of like chocolate type of liqueur. That's up to you. But these are my preferences. So we're gonna do a 4 count, or in this case, 1 ounce. Maybe more than a 4 count. That one actually is running kind of slow. Oh, that is super thick. I've never tried this one before, but I heard it's very good. Borgata is what I found here. Yeah. We're gonna throw a handful of marshmallows into each mug. Bam. Bam. And now let's go back to our hot chocolate. So our hot chocolate's been sitting here chilling on low. Still nice and piping hot. And we're gonna do a generous scoop into each mug. Maybe a scoop and a half. Now, depending on your mug size and how much chocolate you can stand in one sitting, this is gonna serve approximately 6 to 8 servings, sometimes more. Sometimes this is a little too rich for people, so they don't wanna drink a lot of it. Ooh, getting kind of messy here. So now we're gonna top with our whipped cream. Got our bag here, and top with our stabilized whipped cream. You can leave it as this. You can garnish a little nutmeg on there. You can garnish a little like chocolate shavings. But since this is the holiday season, I'm gonna go with a little holiday festive sprinkles here, just to make it extra festive. Look at that. So cute. Boop. And that is my ultra rich and decadent hot chocolate. Let's go enjoy this with some cookies. Now that we've knocked that out, it's time to finally enjoy the fruits of our labor. I do want to say quickly thank you to my husband, Paul, who's normally much more involved in front of the camera, but he was playing cameraman today, and I really appreciate him. Also, he's been like doing the dishes and all this stuff as we've been cleaning up. So cheers to you, my love.
Cheers to you as well for making this.
Yes, happy holidays, happy winter, if it's winter in your area. I'm making a mess. Let's see how this tastes. Time to try the cookies. Oh, God.
These are my favorite cookies.
You know what? It has been worth the 10 years of making these cookies to get that recipe the way I want it to.
And if you look on the bottom, perfect color.
I just love how soft and gooey and chocolatey these cookies are. Let's see if they taste as good as they look. I mean, they always do. That is so decadent. You don't need more than one of these cookies. That's why they're great for a crowd. They're big, but that way, one will do you. The salt kind of cuts through that richness. Really kind of makes it a really enjoyable treat.
I will say the addition of the Heath bits just sets it over the top.
Folks, if you've enjoyed this, a unique episode, and you'd like to see more cooking videos from us, please like this episode. Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And you know what? Let's make this go viral. Share this video with your family, your friends, your coworkers, your gynecologist.
People need to eat these cookies.
Right. You know what? Anyone who loves a sweet treat in the wintertime, share this video with them, and let's spread the magic of this delicious recipe that I've spent so much time, money, and effort into perfecting. We're going to enjoy this. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Until next time, we'll see you guys later. These are really good.
So good. Oh my God.
It's so rich, though.
And the adult hot chocolate.
I love an adult hot chocolate.
Hey bros, what's going on? This is Cotton. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because subscribing makes you feel good.